Every year, Americans spend over $200 billion on meat for protein. Every year, researchers quietly publish studies confirming that some of the most protein-dense foods on Earth are not in the butcher's case. They are growing in gardens, floating in ponds, spreading across roadsides, rising from dry soil in places where meat was never an option, and people were stronger for it. What we are looking at today are 12 plants with protein content that rivals or exceeds common animal sources, gram for gram, per calorie, or in the specific amino acid profiles that matter most to a body over 60. These are not nutritional curiosities. Ancient physicians prescribed them, warriors carried them on campaigns, civilizations built their physical strength around them, and modern researchers are confirming what traditional cultures never doubted. Pay attention to number 7. It is something the United States government has spent over $500 million in the last decade trying to destroy, while populations in Asia have been eating it as a staple food for 2,000 years. And number 1 is a plant that industrial agriculture replaced with an inferior version so quietly that most people never noticed what disappeared. Every plant on this list has a story worth knowing and a protein profile worth taking seriously. Let's begin. Quick thing before we get into it. If you're into this kind of stuff, plants that do more than people expect, weird garden science, that sort of thing, there's more of it on this channel. Sticking around helps more than you think, and it costs you nothing but a tap. Anyway, number 12. Green peas. Number 12. I know, peas. The vegetable everybody's grandmother forced them to eat. Usually mushy, usually from a can, usually a reason to negotiate for dessert. Here's the thing, though. A single cup of cooked peas has about 8 grams of protein. That's close to what you get from an egg. From a vegetable most people push to the side of the plate without a second thought. Egyptians grew these things thousands of years ago, found pea remains sealed in tombs, preserved enough that archaeologists could still identify them. They weren't decoration, they were food people were buried with, which tells you something about how much they mattered. I planted a row myself last spring, mostly out of guilt for underestimating them. They came up fast, climbed the trellis in about 2 weeks, and honestly, the fresh ones taste nothing like the canned version. Sweeter, almost like candy off the vine if candy grew in dirt. Number 11 is going to sound like a joke. Stinging nettle. Yeah, the plant that stings you, the one you avoid on hikes, the one that ruins a good pair of shorts. I actually got stung pulling weeds near my fence last spring. Hands swelled up, itched for an hour. Real charming plant to grow feelings about. But cooked nettle, once the sting is gone, and heat kills it fast, has around 25 grams of protein per 100 grams dried. That's not a typo. That rivals meat from something most people spray with herbicide on site. Herbalists have been brewing this stuff for centuries. Turns out they were onto something the rest of us were too busy avoiding to notice. Number 10. Pumpkin seeds. I used to just throw these out, scoop the guts, seeds and all, straight into the trash every October without thinking twice. Probably pounds of free protein gone. Turns out an ounce of roasted pumpkin seeds has 9 grams of protein, plus a huge dose of magnesium, which your body actually needs to use protein properly. Protein you can actually put to work paired with the mineral that helps it happen. Aztecs roasted these things as a staple, not a snack, not a garnish. Meanwhile, I was composting mine next to the eggshells. Number 9. Amaranth. This one's a grain, technically a seed, and most people have genuinely never heard of it, but it was a huge deal for the Aztecs, like ceremonially important, mixed with honey and shaped into figures for religious festivals. Then the Spanish arrived and banned growing it, on purpose, because of exactly that religious significance. That's not a footnote, that's a plant that got politically erased for a few centuries. Cooked amaranth has about 9 grams of protein per cup, and, this is the part that got me, it has all 9 essential amino acids. Most plant foods are missing 1 or 2, which is the usual argument against relying on plants for protein. This one just doesn't have that problem. It also pops a little like a tiny version of popcorn when you toast it dry in a pan.
which I did not expect the first time and nearly knocked the pan off the stove. Number 8, chickpeas. This one people already kind of know, hummus and all that, maybe some roasted ones in a snack bag. But here's what surprised me. A cup of cooked chickpeas has 14.5 grams of protein. That's more than 2 eggs, from a bean that costs about $1 a can and doesn't need refrigeration until you open it. They've been farmed in the Middle East for something like 7,500 years. That's not a modern health trend. That's just food for an extremely long time. I started buying dried chickpeas instead of canned once I ran the cost per gram of protein. It's not close. You just have to remember to soak them the night before, which I forget constantly. All right, quick pause. Have you actually tried any of these? Not gonna lie, before this, I had eaten maybe 3 of the 12, and one of those was by accident because it was already in a soup I ordered. We're about to hit the one everybody's been arguing over. Number 7.
Number 7, kudzu. This is the one I told you to remember. If you've driven through the American South, you've seen it. That vine that just swallows everything. Trees, telephone poles, abandoned barns, entire hillsides. It grows something like a foot a day in the right conditions. People call it the vine that ate the South, and that's not really an exaggeration if you've seen a field of it up close. The U.S. government has spent over $500 million over the last 10 years trying to eradicate it. Herbicides, mowing programs, entire task forces built around one plant. Here's the part that stopped me. In East Asia, this exact plant has been a staple food for over 2,000 years. The root gets turned into a starch used in cooking and medicine. The leaves get cooked like greens, tossed into soups, stir-fried with garlic, and the leaves specifically carry around 3 grams of protein per 100 grams, plus a load of fiber and minerals most Americans are genuinely short on. So we're spending $500 million destroying a plant that another part of the world has been quietly eating as a vegetable for 2 millennia and buying supplements made from a root extract of the same plant, sometimes at the same time. Make it make sense. I've tried. I can't. Number 6, hemp seeds. Not the plant people immediately think of when they hear hemp. This is the seed, completely non-psychoactive, sold in the same aisle as oatmeal and granola right next to the flax. 3 tablespoons get you about 10 grams of protein, and it's a complete protein too. All the essential amino acids in one small scoop, same as animal sources, which is rare for something this size. I started throwing a spoonful on my morning oatmeal without really thinking about it, mostly because the bag was already open on the counter, and honestly, the nutty taste grew on me fast. A little bit earthy, a little bit like sunflower seeds, if sunflower seeds went to the gym. Number 5, lentils. Cheap, boring sounding, the kind of food people mention right before apologizing for how boring it sounds. Also, 18 grams of protein per cooked cup, which is honestly one of the highest numbers on this entire list, higher than most cuts of chicken by weight once you account for water content. Archaeologists have found lentil remains in sites over 8,000 years old, some of the earliest evidence of organized farming anywhere. This might be one of the oldest cultivated foods still around, and it's sitting in a $5 bag at the grocery store right now, usually ignored. They cook in 20 minutes without soaking, which should get more attention than it does. Number 4, chia seeds. Here's a fact that actually connects back to something I said at the very start. Warriors carrying these on campaigns. That wasn't poetic language. Aztec and Mayan runners and warriors carried chia specifically because a spoonful mixed with water could apparently sustain a person for a full day of marching or running. The word itself is thought to come from a Mayan root that roughly translates to strength. 2 tablespoons carries about 4 grams of protein, which doesn't sound huge on its own, but it also comes packed with omega-3s and enough fiber that the seeds swell up and turn gel-like the second they hit any liquid. First time I mixed some into water and walked away for 10 minutes, I came back to what looked like tapioca pudding. Didn't expect a seed to do that. Spanish conquistadors actually tried to ban chia cultivation too, same as amaranth. There's a pattern here. A lot of these plants got suppressed on purpose, not forgotten by accident. Number 3, purslane. This is the one that got me the most, personally, because I've been pulling this out of my garden beds for years as a weed. I probably composted pounds of it without a second thought, actively annoyed every time it showed up between the tomato rows. Turns out it's got about 2.5 grams of protein per 100 grams, not the highest on the list, but it's also one of the only plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids, which is genuinely rare outside of fish and flax. And it grows in cracks in the sidewalk. It grows where nothing else will, no watering, no care, thriving in the exact conditions that kill everything else I plant on purpose. I felt a little dumb, not gonna lie. Years of yanking out free food and tossing it in a bin. Number 2, spirulina. This one's not even a plant, technically. It's a blue-green algae, but it gets grouped in here because of what it does. Dried spirulina is somewhere around 60 to 70% protein by weight. That number is almost absurd. Nothing else on this list comes close, not even close enough to compare fairly. Aztec accounts describe harvesting it from lake surfaces centuries ago, skimming it off Lake Texaco and drying it into cakes. Today, it's grown in controlled ponds and sold as a powder that honestly tastes like pond water no matter how you dress it up. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I tried 3 different smoothie recipes trying to hide the taste, and it always finds a way through. And here we are. Number 1, black soybeans. Remember at the start I said industrial agriculture quietly replaced something with an inferior version? This is it. For most of American history, black soybeans were a common crop, dense in protein, dense in antioxidants, genuinely a staple food in a lot of households. Then breeders shifted almost entirely towards yellow soybeans because they process better for oil and animal feed, not because they're better for people to eat directly, because they're more efficient for industry, easier to press, easier to standardize at scale. Black soybeans still carry around 33 grams of protein per 100 grams, higher than the common yellow variety most soy products are made from, plus a set of anthocyanin antioxidants the yellow version basically doesn't have. The same pigment family found in blueberries. Nobody announced the switch, no headline, no vote. It just happened, quietly, over decades, until the variety people grew up eating had basically vanished from the mainstream food supply.
So, that's the list. 12 plants. From peas in your grandmother's garden, to a weed I used to throw away by the pound, to a bean that basically got phased out without anyone noticing. What ties all of this together isn't really the protein numbers, honestly. It's that every single one of these got pushed aside for something more convenient, more profitable, or easier to farm at scale. Doesn't mean they stopped working, doesn't mean the protein disappeared, or the amino acids stopped mattering, or the history stopped being true. Just means somebody stopped paying attention to them, and most of us inherited that gap without ever choosing it ourselves. If you want to actually try any of this, start small. A handful of pumpkin seeds on a salad, a can of chickpeas instead of 1 meat night a week, a spoonful of chia in your water before a workout, just to see what happens. That's it. You don't need to overhaul anything, and you definitely don't need to buy every item on this list at once like I foolishly did the first week. I started with the seeds I was already throwing away. Seemed like the least dumb, least expensive place to begin, and it still ended up being the change that stuck. If this got you curious, I've got another video where I actually grow a few of these from scratch, including that porcelain I used to throw out, and a small kudzu patch I'm keeping very contained on purpose. Worth a look if you want to see it play out instead of just hear about it. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one.